The mainstream media is once again attacking the Catholic Church. This time it's on Pope Benedict's recent comments while visiting Africa. Joining us now is Jeffrey Kuhner with the Washington Times to give us some details on what's going on here.
Michael, Pope Benedict XVI is now on an historic first pilgrimage to Africa. He has now gone to the dark continent where AIDS is ravaging people every day, drug use is rampant, genocide is pervasive, war is everywhere, and there is hunger and famine. And yet, as he has spoken out against the evils of corruption, against the evils of slavery, against the evils of imperialism, against the evils of ethnic cleansing, what has the mainstream media seized on? It has seized on a comment that he made last week on his plane as he approached Africa, saying that condom use, rather than solving the problem of AIDS, in fact aggravates it, that it is not a solution, but a part of the problem. And immediately, Michael, there has been a firestorm across the entire Western world, and especially here in Washington, D.C. People are denouncing the Pope, saying that he is primitive, is out of touch, medieval, that he is heartless. Even the French government has come out and said that his statements on opposition to condom use has, quote, put back public health policy. It has rendered it back at least a generation. In other words, they are saying that people will be dying of AIDS in Africa because of the Pope's statements on condom use. To me, Michael, what I find absolutely reprehensible here is that for the French government to come out, the French, to come out and lecture Pope John Paul II and to lecture Pope Benedict XVI, these two last popes, on their opposition to condom use, is to me an absolute shame and a travesty. These are the very same people who are now telling us they are defending human life, that they care about all those people who are suffering and dying of AIDS in Africa. Where were the French when the Nazis invaded their own country? Where were the French when Saddam Hussein was committing genocide against his own people? They refused to lift a finger for the victims of genocide and oppression. But now, all of a sudden, now the French are willing to fight to the last man. Now they are willing to publicly confront the Pope and literally say he is part of the problem and he is responsible for millions of people dying in Africa because he refuses to endorse condom use. It is a shame and it is a travesty. And Michael, it is a sign of the growing Christophobia and anti-Catholic bigotry that pervades our secular liberal elites. For what ultimately did the Pope say? What was his crime? What did he say that was so outrageous? He literally restated basic Catholic doctrine that goes back over 100 years. That sex is not for recreation, it is for procreation. That everybody should be open to life. That life is a precious gift given to us by God. And that condom use, in particular, is one of the most destructive and revolutionary inventions of the 20th century because it does something that no healthy society can tolerate. It leads to a childless and barren future. It is a way that radicals going back 80 to 100 years said was exactly the tools that they needed to destroy Christianity and bourgeois civilization. Because all you have to do is look at places in the Western world where condom use is rampant. Go to France, go to Italy, go to Germany, go to England, and you will see one thing in common. Everywhere there is the sexual revolution, everywhere there is artificial birth control, everywhere that there is rampant feminism, everywhere that there is gay marriage, you see birth rates under 2 children per family. In some countries like Spain, it is even less than 1 child per family. In 50 years from now, Germany will no longer exist. Italy will no longer exist. England will no longer exist. These great civilizations, the cradle of Europe, the cradle of Western Christendom, they are dying. They are becoming depopulated. And as their native populations decline, to sustain their pension programs, to sustain their lavish welfare state, they need to import massive foreign immigration, usually from North Africa or the Middle East. Hence, you have huge, restive Muslim populations. And unlike the decadent West, these Muslims are not practicing birth control. They're not practicing gay marriage. They are reproducing 5, 6, 7 in England, 10 times the rate of native-born European populations. In other words, birth control and the sexual revolution is the road to cultural and demographic suicide. And that is the point that the Pope was trying to make, that a childless future is a hopeless future. It is a future without hope, without inspiration, and without a destiny. And my answer to the critics who have come out against the Pope and they say he's unscientific, that the scientific evidence says that birth control and condom use prevents the spread of HIV and AIDS, I have one answer and one answer only for him. Why hasn't it worked in Africa? For the last 10 years, AIDS groups, family planning groups, UN groups have been distributing condoms in country after country, town after town, city after city. And yet the AIDS rate continues to soar. It has failed because what condom use does is it fosters reckless sexual activity. It encourages people to shack up and literally have promiscuous sex. And if you have promiscuous sex, sometimes you'll wear a condom and sometimes you won't. But in the end, you are engaging in dangerous, reckless behavior. And it is through homosexual sex, it is through drug use, and it is through promiscuous sex that AIDS is passed on. It is not like cancer. It is not like multiple sclerosis. It is not a genetic or hereditary disease. It is a disease that is controlled by behavior. And what the homosexual lobby has successfully done in this country and across the West is they have literally siphoned off almost all of our medical spending to focus on a problem that can be cured by behavior. But let me come even closer, Michael. There was a recent report here in Washington, D.C., just last week, the District of Columbia, that the AIDS rate over the last couple years has soared. It has skyrocketed. The AIDS rate has soared to nearly 25%. Nearly 1 in 20 African-American men in this city now are infected with HIV. They are dying in their apartments. They are dying in our hospitals. They are dying in our healthcare clinics. What has the District of Columbia done? It has put in place the largest national condom distribution program in the country. Literally, Michael, it is raining condoms in Washington, D.C. Over 1.5 million were given out last year alone. You can get them at pharmacies for free. You can get them at clinics for free. You can get them at parks for free. Yet it hasn't stopped the HIV/AIDS infection rate. If anything, it has made it worse because it encourages people to think that there are no physical or moral consequences to promiscuous sexual behavior. And Michael, here we come to the heart of the matter. The sexual revolution was something that was spawned in the 1960s. And it was spawned by some of the most revolutionary left-wingers the world has ever seen. And what these left-wingers, led by the likes of Herbert Marcuse and Jane Fonda and the hippies, they sought to create a new society, a society centered on sexual gratification. They understood and they argued explicitly that the way to overthrow capitalism, the way to destroy the old America based on Christianity, Judeo-Christian values, and the family was to unleash a sexual revolution, was to tell people, do your own thing, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And they encouraged homosexuality, pornography, free love, and most importantly for them, birth control. And this revolution has now swept across America for the last 40 years. The old America is now dead. The counterculture is now the dominant culture. And everywhere we go, whether it be in elementary schools or on university campuses or in the workplace or on television and in the movies, sex is glorified. Everywhere we go, people in this country now practice promiscuous sex. It is now an epidemic. And what has the sexual revolution given us? It has destroyed millions of homes. It has led to countless divorce. It has led to 25 million people being murdered of AIDS in the world. It has led to the youth being denied their innocence. It has led to the destruction of the family, of broken homes, broken dreams, broken lives. This has been the cultural wreckage of the sexual revolution. This is what the cultural left, the Marxist left, has wreaked on American soil. The pill and the condom have been the hammer and sickle of cultural Marxism. And in its path, it is now destroying American culture. It is destroying American youth. And slowly but surely, Michael, it is sapping us of our demographic and civilizational will to survive. All we have to do is look at Europe. It is a barren future. It is a hopeless future. It is a future without children. I have seen the future, and it does not work.
Thanks, Jeff. The self-destructive ways of the left are becoming the norm now, and I really don't like it. This is the Savage Nation.
Savage.